Hello, folks. How y'all doing tonight?
I'm doing good, bro. How you
Hey,
doing?
Mike. Doing good,
Doing all
Sky.
right,
Hey,
doing all right.
good. Welcome to the, I guess, the March 11th version of the Political Matrix News, part of the Falfox Media Network. And we are going to bring in a little bit of our consulting background here. We are getting some national attention right now on some of the polls that we are actually running. We just got done running a poll here for the Congressional District 20 in South Florida, which is Broward County, where the infamous Sheila McCormick, who was indicted on numerous charges of fraud, is running for re-election, bizarrely, and she has quite a few people here running against her. Elijah Manley, Uncle Luke from Two Live Crew, Luther Campbell, and a few other individuals are running in the race. And right now, Elijah Manley is keeping up with his lead in the race, although there are still some undecideds. And I think Wholeness is in there as well. And Uncle Luke is at 1%. And Sheila is just like 5 or 6 points behind in the race, but we're actually getting some picked up by some national media here on it. So I think it's pretty cool that people are actually recognizing that we are still the leading indicator and the leading pollster throughout Florida, not the Southeast. But, we're still here, guys.
What and what national media are we talking about?
As headquarters, Decision Desk headquarters, which is a part of News Nation and The Hill, and so they put it on their Twitter feed, and we'll go ahead and have a link on it in the show notes here. Whenever people go ahead and take a look at it and take a look at what they're saying, and also as far as a link to our poll on the PowerFoxProductions.com website. And so, I mean, the whole thing here is that people need to start understanding that data is out there and that people need to actually understand what the voters are saying and just quit assuming. Like I think is obvious in the last primaries a few weeks ago, everybody just assumes that they got all the answers. You don't. You don't have any of the answers.
Well, what I want to say is something. It's just like my everything is ruined by fundraising narrative. My other narrative, because I'm actually a two horse, two dead horse beaters. I can beat two dead horses at the same time. And the other one that I'm beating is the fact that virtually all the polls you see in the media are not designed to be accurate. They're designed to give a result that is helpful to one candidate or another. And so and you can tell because you look at the bottom, the little tiny fine print at the bottom where they talk about the how the poll is constructed, and the one because they're always supposed to be likely voters, or you're not talking to people who will even make a difference. But the trick that they've started playing now is asking people, "Are you a likely voter?" What do you think they're going to say?
No.
Right. It's like anytime you
So
have a self-reporting, self-participating poll, you're going to
yeah,
skew the data always.
absolutely. Well, it's a thing called what's it?
Confirmation bias.
Well, it's not confirmation bias. It's social desirability
Yeah,
bias.
that's right. A
You,
different
you you
bias.
don't want to give people answers that'll make you look bad. Like, do you vote? No. Well, that's not considered good.
Click.
Yeah. Click.
We actually asked that. We actually did ask that question in one poll, probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and because we already knew if they were likely voters or not, and they wanted us to call registered voters, and so we called registered voters, not likely voters, and so we did it because the client wanted us to. And so we asked them how often do they vote and what their frequency is. And we had several voters who scored at 10 or 5 or less than 20 say they voted every time. And we actually had some people who scored in the 90s and 100s say that they missed a few votes. They feel guilty about saying it, which is, I thought was really kind of weird. But the point is that, a lot of people don't really know exactly the reality. The people that are just leading fish, fishing the person asking the questions takes away the whole accuracy of the data altogether.
Well, and there are videos going around the internet, legitimate videos going around the internet that are pathetic in a funny kind of way. And it'll be a man on the street kind of interview. Hey, what'd you think of Donald Trump's State of the Union address
Exactly.
last night? And then the people go, oh, he was horrible. He just lied. Oh, he this and that and the other. And then the big reveal is, yeah, he didn't actually give his State of the Union address. That's tonight. But they
Right.
won't admit it, right? They won't admit they haven't seen it, but they're so out of touch they don't even know it's scheduled for tonight, not last night as they were led to believe, but they will act as if they not only watched it, but they'll start making up all these things they hated about it. And so what you're talking about, Scott, is absolutely true.
It is
Exactly.
clearly unbiased.
But one thing we did see that was unbiased, I guess just happened a few hours ago, is the definite result here to deliver oil to us,
Hmm.
or at least lower gas prices for the short term. And so I guess Trump is going to release the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or something to that
That's correct.
means, to go ahead and start, lowering gas. Which, I mean, the Strait of Hormuz we should have secured already, and it should be pretty safe. So I really have no idea why oil is at 119 a barrel. Anyway, but it's a game. It's a game that I'm not a part of. And I
Well,
don't
I can actually
really,
explain
you
to
know.
you why
Well,
oil is up if you want to know it. And
sure, go
I
ahead.
may not agree with the thinking, but still, objectively, this is the thinking. The thinking is that the ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz are in danger. And as a result, the
Whatever.
insurance companies won't insure them. And let's be fair, if you were an insurance company, would you insure a ship transiting the Strait of Hormuz when not only has Iran threatened to strike those ships, but has successfully struck ships? And why the United States Navy is not yet
And that's my point.
escorting convoys through the strait is
It
beyond
should
me.
be.
And why the United States Navy and United States Air Force haven't bombed the crap out of any kind
Exactly.
of missile batteries on the shore of the Strait of Hormuz is beyond me. We have the ability to do that from the air and
Exactly.
clean it up. You only got to worry about the east side of the strait. You take out any kind of their anti-ship technologies, missile launchers, torpedoes, drones are an issue. Drones especially have pretty long range too. But either way, why we haven't made that a priority, I don't know. Now, look, I'm not a
And
general,
that's
right? I'm
my
not
point.
advising the military, but that does seem like war strategy 101.
It is, and that's kind of my point. I mean, when you ask the question, should the insurance companies insure it? Yes, they should, because they should be safe. I mean, we should have bombed the hell out of almost every single thing that could do anything to damage them. I mean,
I understand,
Iran
but
is so
ships were struck just
pathetically.
yesterday, Greg. They were struck just
I know that.
yesterday.
I know. I understand that. I
Right.
agree.
But
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 they
but here's
shouldn't be.
here's the other thing. The Treasury has already set up a deal with these insurance companies that they're going to cover the insurance from the entrance of the Gulf to the end of the Gulf. So the insurance companies don't really have any downside to it. The shippers do, and I understand people being reluctant to have their ship put at risk because it takes a lot out of the company if you don't have the actual thing anymore. But I think that it's all. I agree with Mike more than anything else. We have
As it should be.
numerous. Well,
Wait a second.
you and I are going to have a little bit of disagreement later when we start talking about red light cameras, but
We always do, yes.
What?
we'll
That's,
get
that's
we'll
the
get to
subject
that.
for
Red light
later, Greg.
cameras.
That's the subject
We'll
for
get to
later.
that. But we have a lot of technology. We've had since World War II. We've had minesweepers. I mean, good grief.
Right.
And do you think that the technology hasn't evolved just a little bit since World War II? So
Well, we have
so
the
I
ability to sweep the strait for mines. So, of course, keep in mind the mine technology is also better now than it was in World War II,
Right.
but because it's always an arms race, cat and mouse always is. But the United States Navy has far superior technology to whatever the Iranians are doing, not only with
Exactly.
laying of mines, whatever small boat attacks they want to do, or from the air, and the Air Force could help in this as well, knock out these anti-ship batteries on shore. I don't understand why we haven't already done that and why we
I
aren't
agree.
escorting convoys through the strait already. Now,
I
you
agree.
did leave one thing out, Scott, and I think this is important. You talked about the insurance for the oil, okay? You talked about the insurance for the ship. Perfectly valid. There is one more thing, though, which you can buy insurance for, but if you're the reason it gets collected, you don't benefit, and that is the life of the crew. Would you,
Building.
if you were a captain or crew on an oil tanker, would you want to sail through the Strait of Hormuz without the United States Navy escorting you in today's climate? I'm
Well, I
not so
agree.
sure I would.
Yeah, without them escorting us, yeah, I agree, and that's kind
So
of my
why
whole
the hell
point
aren't we
is,
escorting? That's the
why the hell
question.
are we escorting?
Right.
Exactly.
that is a good question. I mean, and frankly, you don't even need all of them escorted. You just need to have them escorted regularly enough so that you're already ahead of anyone that could even think about coming in. Although almost the entire Iranian Navy is at the bottom of the ocean, so not
Yeah,
exactly sure.
they got some small attack boats that they're using and just homemade kind of
Yeah,
bombs
the
that they're able to,
Navy
basically a
one.
little bayliner is about all it is. And you go
Exactly.
up and you attach the limpet bomb, attach it to the ship, detonate it, put a hole in the side, spill a bunch of oil. You're not going to sink the the ship, but you're going to disable it for a while and you're going to
Right.
disrupt shipping, which is the whole thing. But we have the ability to take those out from US Navy
Exactly.
decks and also from the air. Why aren't we doing it? There's got to be a reason, because our military is not run by idiots. I mean, our government may be, but the military knows what they're doing. So why haven't they done it yet? I'm at a complete loss.
What I really don't understand is why we don't have why we're not stationing a squad of troops on every one of them with a little 50 cal, because you want to come run up on my boat. So 50 cal will clear up that, especially if you're carrying explosives.
Yeah,
Exactly. Doesn't
that's
anybody
true.
remember the first war with Stormin Norman, and whenever we were going through Kuwait, and everybody, all the Iraqis were just sitting there with their hands up, like, here, hands up, don't shoot, please, take us, we surrender, we surrender, we surrender. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you showed up with a 50 caliber on the boat, they'll probably be like, hey, we like you guys.
Yeah, 50 caliber M202s, just whatever
Exactly.
kind of grenade launchers you want to throw at these guys. There's plenty of stuff. Just put a squad of troops on there. That's all it's going to take, and then periodically do have ships escorting. The combination of those two things, good luck, Iran.
Yeah, but we are getting a release from petroleum reserves globally and the United States'
Right.
SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The problem is, and I agree that we should do it. So I'm glad that President Trump announced that he's going to be tapping the SPR. The problem is we're only at 58% capacity. And the reason
Why
we're
is
only at,
that?
What?
well, I'm glad you asked that question. And it can be pointed, and I
The,
hate to sound like Donald Trump. Okay, no, I'm going to sound like
man.
Donald Trump. I'm not going to try to mimic the voice, but I'm going to sound like Donald Trump. But this is the truth. Why is it like that? Because Donald Trump's predecessor depleted the Strategic Petroleum Reserve before the 2022 midterms in order to lower gasoline prices artificially so that Democrats would not get slaughtered in the election. And dutifully, that's exactly what happened. And like lemmings led to, or sheep led to a slaughter, that's what the voters did. But Joe Biden, when he started that, when he took office in January of 2021, there were 638 million barrels of oil in the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Well, the maximum is only 714. Now, we had at one point 726, so we had the ability to hold a little bit more. But regardless, when he left office, there were only 394 million barrels of oil in that Strategic Petroleum Reserve, a drop of 38.2%. Donald Trump has managed to only increase it by 5.3%. So as of today, we've got 416 million
Right.
barrels in it, which is little over half, 58% of its capacity. But we don't have
Yeah,
to drain it, though. We don't have to drain it. See, that's what we
No,
don't
we don't.
have to drain it. If we release a little bit, enough to affect the supply, because, and I'll wrap it up in a minute because I know, Scott, you're chomping at the bit to say something. So I'll just wrap it up with this. The whole purpose of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve was not to manipulate prices for either economic or political reasons. It
Exactly.
was to maintain a supply in the event of supply disruptions. It started from the Yom Kippur War oil embargo of the 70s, but hurricanes have also done it. Disabled vessels in various shipping lanes have also done it. There have been lots of reasons we've tapped it. But with the exception of Joe Biden doing it for purely political reasons, it's always been because of supply disruptions. Donald Trump's tapping it because there's supply disruptions. So it's the appropriate reason to do it, unlike his predecessor.
Well, another interesting little twist on that is the reason that it wasn't full when Trump left office was because Chuck Schumer blocked him trying to fill it with $30 a barrel oil.
Yeah, but it was mostly full when Trump left office. It was mostly
Yeah,
full.
but I understand that,
Yeah.
but it's just the hypocrisy of Schumer, who's
Hypocrisy.
screaming about why on earth aren't we doing this when it's at $110 a barrel, but he was dead set against it when it was $30 a barrel.
Well, if
It's
it
just
wasn't for double standards, Democrats would have no standards
no
at all.
standards at all.
Indeed,
And as long as we're
indeed.
talking about double standards, let's talk about the Iran war just for a moment with Operation Epic
Definitely.
Fury. We've got all these Democrats in there crying and complaining about how Donald Trump illegally did it. Now, I wrote on my blog exactly why it's not illegal. I don't want to get into all that now, but if people want to go to the MikeBaitShow.com, you can look it up. When Barack Obama attacked Libya, he didn't ask permission from Congress to do it. He did ask the Arab League, though. The Arab League signed off on it, but he never even asked Congress.
Funny.
But congressional leaders, Democrat congressional leaders, were saying, the president doesn't need authority to do this. He absolutely has the right. He's the commander in
Exactly.
chief. All the things they're not saying now, they said when it was a Democrat in the White House. The hypocrisy and the double standards of the Democrat Party are disgusting and dangerous.
Yeah, you should have seen Adam Schiff just squirming when someone brought that up because they asked
It was Bill
if
Maher.
he believed.
Bill Maher did it.
Yeah, it was Bill Maher. It was Bill Maher.
Yeah.
And he asked if it was okay, and he's just like, no, 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 no. I said, well, that's not what you said here.
Right, he quoted him. For those that didn't see it, and Greg, if there's a way you can put that clip up, please do. It's great. But yeah, it was Bill Maher who called him out. He read to Schiff's actual quote, and Schiff disagreed with it. No, that's awful. And then Bill said, "Well, that's what you said. Those were your words." All right. Yeah, it was great. And Bill Maher, he's a pretty hardcore lefty, but I will give him credit for his intellectual honesty.
Yeah.
I don't agree with him much, but I do respect his intellectual honesty. He will call it as he sees it, regardless of which side is getting skewered.
I'll tell you who I'm getting a lot more respect for than I've had, although it was pretty low for a long time, is Stephen A. Smith. Because
definitely.
Because he actually thinks that Rubio is his number one candidate. Rubio.
Yeah, well, supposedly Stephen A. plans to run for president.
No, he absolutely
he's not doing it anymore.
He absolutely denied that. He says, "No way, no how, not going to happen."
Yeah,
and that was when he said he would support Rubio.
Yeah, he's like this Democrat Party or this version of the Democrat Party.
And that was exactly what his entire narrative.
And it's kind of like James Woods just came out saying he wants to be an independent because he's not happy with the version of the Republican Party that's not backing the SAVE Act. And so we have our goofballs in both parties, and they need to get their act together here. I mean, and the Republicans any Republican not supporting the SAVE Act is just wow. I mean, what's wrong with you?
Well, it has passed the House. It's held up in the Senate. And
exactly
Thune
why?
actually said today, Thune said today he'd bring it up for a vote, but he expects it to fail. The real question is, why don't you force a standing filibuster, and then it can pass with J.D. Vance breaking the tie?
I think John Cornyn was saying that today.
He won't even attempt that.
Cornyn was saying he's reversing his stance on the filibuster, saying let's just go ahead and get this damn thing passed. Period.
As we've said repeatedly, the only people opposed to the SAVE Act are the people who want to manipulate elections. Period.
Exactly.
Yep. But wouldn't it be nice to get the entire Democrat Party? I think Fetterman actually said he's in favor of it, didn't he?
He is, yeah.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be nice to get the entire Democrat Party, except Fetterman, on the record voting against a law that requires proof of citizenship to vote? I mean, that would almost be as good of a moment as President Trump's State of the Union address last month when he asked, hey, those who think you should put America first above illegal, stand up. Not a single Democrat stood up. I mean, that's all you really need to know about the Democrat Party today.
It's not the Democrat Party that it used to be.
But I mean, you look at all the things that they've opposed. They've opposed bringing manufacturing back to the country. They've, bringing back manufacturing jobs to this country instead of outsourcing them to other countries. I thought and frankly, I've heard union people, like senior level union people, who were saying the same thing, and I'm like, don't your members kind of pay you to say the opposite of that?
Right. Well, a lot of the unions have been recently, they're going more, right wing and more Republican anyway, and so I mean, a lot of them are realizing. I mean, they're going to get behind the party that puts their jobs first, saying the Democrat Party is not putting them first anymore at all.
Well, that's true of the rank and file, but the leadership of most unions, they're still pretty hardcore Democrats.
It is.
That's where their money goes.
Correct, yeah.
They're not hardcore Democrats. What it is, I mean, they're registered Democrats. I'll agree with that. But this isn't an ideological thing. The reason they're doing this is not ideological. It's money. They get money for this.
Cha-ching.
I mean, it's backdoor money, but they get it.
I was actually talking to a progressive a couple of days ago, and he was telling me that progressives are now starting to trend toward they're basically removing their old hat and redefining themselves as basically being what conservatives were back in the 90s. I says, I don't think you are, But maybe if you think you are, then maybe that's half the battle. But I think the battle is that they're trying to say that the new progressive movement is just trying to get government out of everything, which I was like, maybe you're not as progressive as you think you're progressive, but maybe I'm not a progressive expert, so I have no idea what's in their head.
No, that is the opposite of what progressive is.
That's what
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
Because
what
thinking.
happens is you have the hard ideologues on both sides. What they really think they are libertarians, lowercase
yes,
libertarians.
Right.
And I'm a lowercase libertarian. I'm not a
Yeah, me
registered
too.
uppercase libertarian, but I'm a lowercase libertarian,
Yeah,
but
I think
not for
we
the
all are.
reasons that people on the left may be considering themselves anyway to be libertarians. So libertarian is almost whatever you want it to be, right? The
yeah, fair.
beliefs of the libertarians, it's so broad that you can pick and choose what you like, and you pick and choose what you don't like. But there's enough to like that you can still call yourself a libertarian, even though they may not meet my definition. They're free to create their own.
Well, it's unlike being a Democrat, where you have to buy into every single belief, or you're not really a Democrat.
Right.
They whip you into shape. And Republicans are actually the big tent party now. I mean, we have a big free marketplace of ideas. We have moderates, we got MAGA, we got conservatives, we got liberals. We're not going to kick you out. We like everybody. Granted, we all have a little internal factions. I just left a Republican meeting here in Flagler County, and they seem to be pretty copacetic. But they were also talking about other committees around the state that are have a lot of at odds and a lot of internal fighting. And so, I mean, you have that in the Republican Party. I'm sure the Democrat Party on the local level has that. I'm sure as well, also. And so, the whole idea here is that the Democrats are really into lockstep, this way or nothing. Republicans, they'll squabble, but at the end of the day, they're going to get along.
For sure, for sure. I mean, they know where their bread is buttered,
Right.
for
They're
lack
not
of
going to
a
kick
better way
you
to say
out.
it. But and before we get too far away from us, I did want to put one more comment into the oil dead horse. That's that some of the inflation in oil prices we're seeing, I think, is artificial from the
Definitely.
standpoint, because those guys, there's a ton of those guys that are hardcore into it, and they don't mind doing some things to artificially stack that price up, because they're not going to pay it. What the hell do they care? But they can,
Well,
but
it's
they can
true.
manipulate it.
Yeah, it's true, Scott. Obviously, there's speculators that are going to drive the price up, but it's not
Oh, I don't,
like
no,
it's
I don't.
unfounded.
No,
It's not
no.
unfounded. I mean,
I'm not
production's
saying
down in the Gulf
yes.
region. Transportation is down in the Gulf region. Fineries have been attacked in the Gulf region. I mean, there's plenty of reasons, legitimate reasons, why the price of oil's up. And that, of course, the markets are driven by two things: fear or greed. And the speculators can make money in either direction.
Right, and I'm not saying that there are not reasons for it to happen. What I'm saying is that there's an outsized reaction to it.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Just out of
And
curiosity, how much has your gas prices gone up where you guys live at?
I don't know. I haven't gotten gas in a couple days.
I'm in Pensacola, and last week it was 258. Yesterday it was 349. So what's that? Dollar
Well, I don't know.
from two. So I'm not that good at math. I'd have
Yeah,
to grab a calculator and
ours
tell you the
went from
percentage. But
around ours
but
went from
349 is what
275
it
to
was when I was out yesterday.
ours went from 275 a gallon to 380 a gallon where I'm at over here in the Flagler County area, in the Jacksonville area.
Well, I'll tell you what, gas. Oh, God dang it!
It's a pretty good little increase. So I know we do science for a lot of clients, and our shipping prices went up quite a bit
Yeah.
overnight.
Well, keep in mind that the United States actually gets an extremely small percentage, a single digit, and it's low single digits
Yeah,
percentage of our oil from the Middle East.
yeah, like 5 to
We import
7%.
very, very little of it. It's single digit percentage. But oil is a somewhat fungible commodity. And if the price is going up for Middle East oil, well, it's going up for Texas crude too, right? And so that's why oil prices have gone up everywhere, because the overall supply of oil is in fact reduced for the reasons we stated earlier.
Well, we just need to start pumping in more of that Venezuelan oil.
Well, and we're going to. And don't think that didn't play into the equation. And I tell you, there's an angle that I'm hearing nobody in the mainstream media talk about in all this. I'm glad you brought that up, Scott. Whether you, and I don't mean you, I mean anybody, whether you
The
agree with Donald Trump doing this or not, you have to at least base that on reality. And the reality of the reason he's doing it, he's done a horrible job articulating it. So Donald Trump, he cannot explain himself ever. I've always been frustrated with his complete inability to articulate a consistent message. But he's done this in a manner that is brilliant. And the real loser in this is not the Iranian regime, although they better be replaced. The real loser is China.
I know.
The second
Exactly.
loser is Russia. The
Russia.
third loser is Cuba. And the fourth
That's-
loser is North Korea.
Korea.
So who's been buying this Iranian oil? Well, there's an embargo going on. So most nations can't buy it because they have to abide by the sanctions or they themselves will get sanctioned. So who's buying it? The Chinese, the Russians, the North Koreans. Now Cuba's getting it from Venezuela, not Iran. But by cutting off the Venezuelan oil, which is now not being shipped to China, that's
Exactly.
creating trouble in China. And it also, Russia was buying oil as well. You'd think as a big producer as Russia, they wouldn't need to import oil, but they do. And so Russia is going to be hurt by this too, not so much in the oil angle, but in the availability of drones. The Russians were acquiring drones from who? Iran to use
Iran.
against Ukraine. So
Ukraine, right?
this entire action is depriving China of cheap oil. It's depriving Russia of Iranian drones to use on the Ukraine. And if we can see this through to the end, and the only end that I support is regime change. If Donald Trump is able to effectuate a regime change, not just replacing one crazy mullah with another, but replacing the mad mullahs with a secular pro-Western government, it will be the greatest foreign policy achievement of the millennium. But if he
Yeah.
stops this war before doing that, then the entire war will have been a complete mistake.
I think this is the only podcast I've actually heard that argument to where we talked about the domino effect with Venezuela and Iran and it affecting the entire powers to be with China and Russia. Nobody's and you're right. Nobody else is talking about it. Nobody. I mean, it's like everybody's missing it. They don't see the connection here, or they just don't want to talk about the connection, or they want to ignore the connection. Yeah, I
Well, I'll
don't
tell
get
you,
it.
I think what it really is that the news media talks to their listeners, viewers, readers, whatever it may be, as if they're fourth graders.
Exactly.
They dumb it down so much. Ooh, can't make this complex. The listeners, readers, viewers won't like it. So they'll dumb it down to one stupid issue that is basically presented with one side making one claim and then every once in a while the other side refuting it. So fake news doesn't have to be false to be fake. It is fake because of the editorial decisions of what they choose to report and what they choose to spike.
for sure. For sure. You know, Tim Pool was telling a story. I saw a little clip of Tim Pool telling a story. If you did, and Tim Pool is a liberal. He will tell you flat out he's a liberal, but he's a you know like an even more intellectually honest liberal than Bill Maher, I think. And he was talking when he was at one of those big news websites, but that ABC acquired later. And he said when ABC came in, the producers started telling them that there were just going to be stories that if they didn't have market appeal, then they weren't going to run them. And he said, so we can have something that changes the world, but if it's not popular or if it offends our market, we're not going to run it. He said, well, I wouldn't say it that way, but yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
The
And
news media is disgraceful in this country.
it is like
and,
that. Yeah.
and look, there's a First Amendment. I'm not advocating that the government make them do it any differently. I'm just exposing it for what it is and alerting people that, look, the truth is out there, but you're not going to find it in the mainstream press.
I mean, all three of us have been in the media for years, and we've seen it in the backroom scenes of it, and it's disgusting.
I don't think that the government should control it, but I think the market should demand.
Exactly.
I agree.
Yep. So what were y'all saying about red light cameras?
Yeah, why do we
let's just
disagree
go
on,
at-
Scott? I thought we agreed on red light cameras.
They're evil.
We mostly do, but there was there was a little Facebook post that we were tagging because was it the Supreme Court or just a court in
No, it was
Broward
a
County?
county judge in Broward County ruled that a red light camera is unconstitutional because you lack the ability to confront your accuser, you lack the ability for the due process that you're
I
entitled
like
to,
that.
and there's a presumption of guilt. So all these reasons he ruled it was unconstitutional, which is the right decision. So I don't
I
understand,
agree.
Scott, because you think it was the right decision also. Now, it's only applicable in Broward County, so it's not applicable statewide in Florida. The legislature or the Supreme Court would have to do that. But why do you think you and I disagree on that?
Well, that actually is the part we got to disagree on, because
Okay.
once you have a judge, judge putting that into the record, then it will be, his ruling will be referred to by a whole lot of other lawyers that come to defend these things.
You are
And
correct, but it's not binding precedent.
it's not binding precedent, but when you have enough of these of cases going one way, there will be enough judges. There'll be judges on both sides of this, and there are going to be plenty of people that are filing these cases. And once there's enough controversy, it will go to the Florida Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And for me, there was one thing they forgot that I'll talk about in a second, but the thing that was really core in this ruling was he said that everything about this law treats the car owner as if they are definitively the driver, and it treats them like a criminal case. Like, there's no, there's evidence, and then you get sanctioned, and that's it. It has nothing to do with the car. I don't know if there's a way to make it attached to the car, because the thing is that when you go through the light, it's not necessarily you, and there are plenty of people that have had to pay these tickets for someone that borrowed their car.
Exactly. I did.
And how do you know that they're going, that's what's going on? The other thing that bugs me about this law, and has always bothered me about it, you go all the way to the last two paragraphs, and in there's a statement that says that the rules of evidence do not apply.
Yeah, I mean,
And we're going to give you, as if this makes it better, but we're going to make sure that you have due process. Really?
Yeah.
yeah,
And everything's done by a private company. That's the thing. It's not even the government doing it. These private red light camera companies are the ones that do the whole thing. I think they're even the ones that mail out the notices. I don't even think
yeah,
the
they do.
No,
state mails out,
They
the
do,
county
that's
mails out the
correct.
notices.
Yeah, I got a notice with a camera and a wonderful little black and white photo of a car that somebody is borrowing of mine in Gulf Breeze, going through a red light in Gulf Breeze while I'm 400 miles away in my other car in Gainesville, Florida. And I'm like, I'm not even there. They said, well, you still got to pay the ticket. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so it's ridiculous.
in particular, that the red light in Gulf Breeze that's over toward the Naval Live Oaks.
Yeah,
That
that's
one
where it
right there
was.
is that one's particularly problematic because there's a transition there from a higher rate of speed to a lower rate of speed that happens just before the area where the camera kicks in, but they have the yellow light timed for the bare minimum for the lower speed. So there's a lot of people that come up to that light, and they're like, and the light turns yellow, and they're like, whoa! And they have to make a choice between clearly running a red light or slamming on brakes so hard that you get rear-ended.
Exactly.
Right. And the
Or
national
hydroplaning.
statistics on red light cameras, the advocates of them will say, oh, accidents at intersections go down when these red light cameras are put in. Here's
No,
the
they did not.
actual truth. Now, these are national stats, not just for Florida. It is true that T-bone collisions go down slightly, but rear end collisions, because of the scenario you just described, go up dramatically. And so the overall number of crashes at intersections rises. It's all about the money. It is not about safety at all.
Exactly.
No, and that statute requires every jurisdiction in Florida to publish those accident statistics, and they're annually published, and you can look at them. And the only places that don't show those things aren't reporting their statistics. I mean, they're literally they're showing like 0 crashes. I'm like, well, that's not true.
Right.
Yeah.
So real quick, just to close on a state political note here, the governor's race. We're not going to mention any names because we're getting some text messages and emails from crazy people run for governor. But who knows? It might hire us one day. But we think that some of them might be out of touch with reality and what they're communicating to their voters.
No, it just tears me up to watch these just canned talking points. I'm not going to name names either, but it's just so lazy when they say that you're going to cut taxes and shut down the woke agenda and cut the most egregious one to me is cut property taxes.
Exactly.
Because this guy was an elected official in the state legislature, and he's apparently completely unaware that we're passing that a constitutional amendment is going to be passed because ask people if they want to lower their taxes and they'll say yes to eliminate property taxes. So is he taking credit for it now, or is he going to take credit for it then? I don't know, but he's certainly well on top of it. But you say all that. I mean, all of these words are they're just lazy consultants who string a bunch of words together. I
Exactly.
bet they've used this exact sentence in probably 50 campaigns.
Exactly, and that kinda goes back to the polling that we started out the show with here, is that nobody's really doing any research and finding out exactly what is, the voters are actually wanting that that person can actually do. I mean, the biggest thing about campaigning is to make sure you can keep your promise. We had a candidate that promises made, promises kept, and that was a really good campaign slogan because it's actually a realistic situation. But in order to do that, it has to be attainable. It has to be in your purview. You can't be promising things that you're not able to do, even if you get elected. I mean, and so basically, I mean, this whole bait and switch propaganda BS is just ridiculous.
I have written a lot of campaign commercials in my life, as
Yeah.
have the two of you.
Yes, we all have
Yeah, and I mean,
hundreds,
it's been
thousands,
it's thousands between the three of us.
thousands.
But when I write them, I always sit down with the candidate and I ask what their genuine beliefs are, and then I put
Exactly.
it in the best words possible. But I don't spoon feed them the issues. I want them to genuinely believe those issues.
Exactly. But it also has to be an issue they can do.
And that's why what we do is normally we run an issue poll first thing when we get a client. We run an issue poll to see what the issues are resonating in the district, and then we ask them what their issues are, what they believe are, and the things that they believe in the most. And we'll ask them the same sorts of questions, and we'll say, okay, the public agrees with you most on these three issues. So I don't care what you think about these over here. You focus on the ones where the public agrees with you the most, because that's going to be the thing that comes out as most genuine. You already hold this belief, so you focus on this thing, and this
Exactly.
thing, and don't focus on the things that are not that are going to be controversial within your district, or you won't be the guy in your district.
Which goes to the whole next thing is that, we talked so much about authenticity and about, just being honest. And we cannot, oversell that enough. Is that candidates who are just trying to be something else. Everybody wants to be Trump. Everybody wants to out
Oh
Trump
no.
Trump. And that's just the most frustrating thing in the world because there's only one Trump. There's only one you. And so, I mean, the whole point is just to be yourself and be honest, be authentic. That's the reason why all these podcasts that you're watching, ours and thousands of other ones are actually selling it now more because of the visuals and the nonverbals and the authenticity of being honest and open with the audience and looking at them straight in the eye and stuff like that. I mean, people want that feeling of openness and honesty. And whenever you're starting to sell something that you can't do and that you're misleading people about, and it is not possible to get done, you're not going to raise the money, you're not going to raise the votes, and without either one, you just should drop out.
Yeah, only Democrats say that I'm going to give everyone your free homes and free education and free medical care, knowing full well they can't do any of those things.
A guy named W.D. Childers always used to say, "I want all the votes and all the money." But in order to do that, he was very authentic and very honest with, everybody knew who the Bantu Rooster was. He was the dean of the Senate in Florida for 35, 40 years. He actually was one of the architects of the Florida, political landscape here throughout most of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s before he became a county commissioner in Escambia County. But I mean, and people like him, and your cousin Bo Johnson was the same way. Whenever he was the Speaker of the House in Florida, and Greg Evers, and I mean, we've come across and worked with so many powerful leaders in Florida and the Southeast, but they were all exactly what you saw. None of them were
Hmm.
fake. They were all
Can I
as
tell you a
raw
funny
as
story
pure.
about the Banty Rooster?
Go ahead.
Sure,
All right.
those stories are legendary. Please.
Yeah, so we're talking about W.D. Childers, as you mentioned, Dean of the Senate for
30,
a long time, 30, 40 years. I got him to shine my shoes once. True story. I kid you not. I kid you not. I was in a meeting with him in Tallahassee in his office. And as we were walking out of the office, he had one of those shoe shine machines that has the spinning
Right.
electrical brushes and then the
it
posts
does,
and
yeah.
then the little control thing at the top. And he was standing right next to me as we're approaching the door. And I said, "How does this thing work?" And he said, "Here, put your shoe in there." And I put my shoe in there, and he hit the button, and it just, spun.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, put the other one in there. So I can say I'm probably one of very few people who have had my shoes shined by W.D. Childers.
WD Childers, for
And with that,
sure.
we'll go ahead and call it a night. You
Amen.
guys
There we go.
go ahead and find us on a social media platform of your choice. We are very happy that people are starting to follow us a lot more now. We are on Apple Podcasts, Deezer, which I never heard of Deezer before, but we're on Deezer, which is actually one of our bigger listening channels, Facebook, of course, TikTok, YouTube, and so on and so forth. But there'll be logos all over the screen here throughout the show, and just stay tuned and have a good evening.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.